Okay, so lesson 41, dividing rational expressions. So dividing rational expressions, this word rational means just a fraction. Okay, when we talk about dividing rational expressions, we're saying we're going to divide fractions. Okay, when we divide fractions, what do you really do when you divide a fraction? You multiply by the reciprocal, right? That's like old news, right? Old concept. So we're really just doing more multiply problems today, right? So rational expressions are fractions, and the one important thing is we cannot have zeros ever in our denominator. What happens if we have a zero in the denominator ever? It's called what?
Undefined.
Undefined, right? We can't have an undefined fraction, right? Otherwise the problem doesn't function correctly, or it's not a function. So we have to create limits or have excluded values, okay? So these are the steps. Raise your hand if you need more time writing down the steps. Okay. Okay, so you'll notice that this thing, excluded values, comes up a lot. And these steps will be the same steps you would have had on Monday's lesson. So we're just adding this part if a division problem, but everything else is the same. So I know that your substitute had a different way of teaching you, and he's really good because he's done it for a long time. But I know you're used to me, so here we go. Let me show you a couple of them. Numbers 1 and 2, two division problems. Just watch right now. Okay, first thing you need to do on anytime you have a division problem is look at your denominators and look to see if there are any variables. Okay, because we don't want those variables ever to equal to 0. So there's a 17m here. We want to make sure we set that equal to 0 first. So 17m is equal to 0. Therefore, m cannot equal to 0, right? And I'm just going to take this answer and I'm just going to put it aside, okay? I'm just going to put it someplace else so that I don't forget about it. Alright, and since I'm on this screen, I have limited space. I'm going to erase this, but on your paper you could just have a side problem. Okay, so I know that one of my potential, or one of my excluded values is m cannot equal to 0. Because if m was equal to 0 from the beginning, it would make this problem undefined, okay? Next thing I'm going to do is take my sign and my operation and my second fraction. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we got times 17m over 15. Okay, and then we got 19 over 17 here. Alright. And then at this point I check again, are there any excluded values? No. At this point there aren't any because there aren't any variables in our denominator. Pull out any common factors. So there's 17 here I can cancel out with this 17, leaving just 1 and 1. I can't factor or cancel anything out of 19 and 15, so I leave those alone. Now I'm going to multiply across numerator with numerator. 19 times 1, m is going to be 19m. And then 1 times 15 is 15, semicolon. That's our final answer. Include any excluded values. There aren't any more variables here, so m, the only thing m can equal to is 0. And that's it. That is our answer. Okay? That's an easy one. So what did I do on number 1? First thing I did, again, is I checked for excluded values. Okay? In the way you always look for excluded values, look for variables in the denominator. There aren't any variables here. There's a variable here, set it equal to 0. We get m is not equal to 0. Then we multiply by the reciprocal. So put the denominator in the numerator, numerator in the denominator. Then we check for excluded values again. There weren't any. So now we're going to cancel anything else. So 17's cancel out. 19 and 15 is nothing that goes into them. Multiply across. 19 times 1m is 19m. 1 times 15 is 15. Okay, can't simplify anymore. Checking for excluded values one last time, and you aren't any more. So we're going to write our final answer, and m cannot equal to 0. Okay, that's number 1. Super easy. Number 2. Okay, number 2 is a little more intense here. So the first thing I'm going to do is find any excluded values. So on this denominator, we notice that there is a trinomial here and a trinomial here. So I'm going to take each of these and
we're going to set them equal to 0, so we're going to take 12 minus 4m minus m squared. And I'm actually going to factor out a negative 1. So watch carefully, because I don't like dealing with these negative signs. So it's going to be m squared plus 4m minus 12, okay, equal to 0. So on this one, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1, so we have m squared plus 4m minus 12 is still equal to 0. Factor out the left side. If I were to do an x box, I get m plus 6 and m minus, m minus 2 is equal to 0. Zero product property, m plus 6 is equal to 0. And m minus 2 is equal to 0. Subtract 6 on both sides. M cannot equal to negative 6. That's one of my excluded values, and m cannot equal to 2. Okay? So these are two excluded values. So I'm going to write these on the side someplace. So m cannot equal to negative 6 or 2 at this point. Okay? So I keep that to the side. Those are my first excluded values. Okay? I still have another denominator right here that I have to deal with. So I'm going to, on my paper I wouldn't erase it, but I'm going to erase it here for the sake of space. Okay? And you'll still see the steps. Taking my second equation here, and I'm going to set it equal to 0. So we got m squared minus 3m plus 2 is equal to 0. Factor it, we got m minus 3, m minus 2 times m minus 1 is equal to 0. Zero product property, m minus 2 cannot equal to 0, and then m minus 1 cannot equal to 0. So m cannot equal to 2, and m cannot equal to 1. So these are two other excluded values. We already have 2 in there, but we're going to add 1 also. So I'm putting that at the top up here. So these are my excluded values thus far. Now I'm going to erase all this from my screen because I need the space to work out the problem. Okay, that was just the first step, finding excluded values. Okay, that's how hard some of these can get. M cannot equal to negative 6, I'm sorry. These are excluded values. Okay, that's just step 1. Now I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. All eyes up here. Focus, focus, focus. Thank you. Okay, eyes up there. So, first I'm going to take the second fraction and flip it. But while I do that, I'm going to factor stuff out as I go. So, we're going to factor out 3. So, it's going to be m plus 6 over, our denominator we said was negative 1 times, earlier we said, what was it, m plus 6 times m minus 2. That's the factored form of the first denominator. Times, I'm changing this division sign to a times sign. Right, changing it, and we're factoring out, we're going to flip the fraction. I'm just going to factor the denominator while I go. So it's going to be m minus 2 times m minus 1, and then we have this numerator now I'm going to factor out as I flip it. So we're going to put m, what is this, m plus 7 times m minus 1. Okay, and we just did step 2. Now, before we move on, this is like a brand new problem. We can never have m being equal to 0. So, m cannot equal to negative 6. We know that up here. M cannot equal to 2. We know that here, right? Look here. Can m equal to negative 7? What happens if m is equal to negative 7? This becomes 0. 0 times anything is still 0. We got undefined. Right? Right here, we cannot have this be equal to, or m equal to negative 7. So that's a new excluded value. I'm going to add that to my list. Okay? And m cannot equal to 1 here. And that's already in our list. Now I'm going to cancel out. This is the fun part. So this cancels out with this. M minus 2 cancels with this. M minus 1 cancels out with this. Anytime you cancel things out, it's dividing by itself. These all become 1. So in the numerator we have 3 in the front, times 1 times 1 times 1, which is just 3. Denominator we got negative 1 times m plus 7 is going to be negative m minus 7. That's another way you could write it. Or another way you could write it is just keep the negative sign in the bottom. So it's going to be negative 1 times, 3 over negative 1 times m plus 7. Or some people even like having it where the negative sign's in the front. Negative 3 over m minus 7. This is just different ways to write this. I prefer this answer right here, but on the test these are all valid answers. Or they prefer having the negative in the numerator, m minus 7. This is all preference. These are all the same answer, by the way. Okay, but you write your answer and then your excluded values, which we wrote at the top, where we said m cannot equal to negative 6, negative 7, negative 6, and 1 and 2. Okay, and of course checking at the end too, if there are any excluded values, only m cannot equal to 7 still, so. Oh, m cannot equal, this is supposed to be a plus 7, sorry, not a minus 7. These are all plus signs, sorry about that. Alright? No, that's not right. M cannot equal to, no, that's it. So this answer and this answer would be correct, and that's it. And m cannot equal to 7 here. So we have a bunch of excluded values. So this was a super hard problem, okay? I'm showing you the steps, okay? But the steps are generally the same. You're looking for excluded values at the beginning. I did that here and here. That was a long step at the second problem. Then after you found excluded values, you multiply by the reciprocal. I did that here and here. Then before I even canceled out, I looked for excluded values again. There weren't any here, but I added a couple here, or just one up here. Okay, then I canceled. Then I rewrote my answer. Since there was a negative in the denominator, it got a little tricky. But the boxed answer is my preferred method, but these all could be answers. And then I wrote my excluded values and checked for excluded values again. M cannot equal to 7, okay? And that's it. So I added that to the list as well.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is it on the top, like it's m plus 7 in the denominator?
Right here, that's right.
There's a negative 1, and you put the negative on the side there?
Yeah, because negative 1 times m plus 7 is going to be negative 1 times m plus 7, or it could be negative n times negative 7, or it could be put the negative sign in the front. Oh, this should be an m plus 7, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Was that your question? M plus 7 here, or there could be an m plus 7 here. So actually this last 7 doesn't exist. Made a mistake here. Okay? That's right. Okay? Alright, so I'd like you to do right now is turn to your neighbor. 1 cell of 2 is about number 1, 2 cell 1 is about number 2. Ready, set, go. Lots of talking, go. Okay, number 3, turn to your neighbor, tell him what you would do first on number 3. What are we looking for first, everyone?
Reciprocal. Excluded values.
Excluded values, excellent. Okay, so we're looking for any denominators that have variables. Is there a variable in our first denominator?
Yes.
Okay, set it equal to 0. 8r is equal to 0, so r cannot equal to
8. No, 0. 0.
0, right? Because 0 divided by 8 is 0. Okay, that's one of them. What about the second excluded value? 12r cannot equal to 0, so r cannot equal to?
0.
Good, same excluded value, right? So let's go write this on the side, and I won't erase it here because we have a little more space now. I'll erase the other problem. Okay, so that's the first step. Turn to your neighbor, tell them what you would do next. Okay, what would we do next, everyone?
Reciprocal.
Okay, reciprocal. So we're going to take our problem. We're going to have 12 over 8r times our reciprocal, which is 12r over 17r cubed. Okay? What should you do right now before you even start canceling out? Check what? One more time for what? Excluded values, okay? Are there any new excluded values? What's a new excluded value?
17R.
Nope. Well, what then solve? What's 17r cubed? What does that become? What can r not equal to? Divide both sides by 17. We get r cubed equal to 0. Cube root of 0 is 0, right? So is this a new excluded value? No. You still want to check. That's good that you checked. Okay, I'm just going to erase it because that was redundant, right? We didn't need to do that. Okay? Now we start canceling out. Raise your hand and give me an example of a factor we can simplify into numerators and denominators.
12.
Raise your hand. Ely.
12 and 8. 4.
12 and 8. We know that 4 goes into each of them, so 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, what else can I simplify? Raise your hand. Raul.
R's.
Oh, which R's?
12R.
What?
The 2R and 12R. Take the R's out.
Okay, I'm going to take the R's out, so R divided by R is just 1. Okay? Yep. Julia. Oh, there's a fake out. Psych. Yep.
2 and 12.
2 and 12, right? 2 goes in each of these. So you got 6 and 1 here. Good. What else can I simplify? Anything else? Okay, now we're going to solve our answer. So you got to do 3 times 6 and then 1 times 17r cubed. Finish up your answers. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. And then don't forget your 3 times 6 is 18 over 1 times 17r cubed is 17r cubed. Semicolon. We got r cannot equal to 0. This is how you should write your answer, okay? Now on a test, it'll show this same thing, or it'll show 18 over 17r cubed. Semicolon. And that's going to show set notation, which is these like brackets with little points on the ends. You're just going to have 0 in there. This would be an answer on the test, okay? All right, let's do number 4, okay? Number 4. Let's do this one together. This one's harder. Okay, first step. What are we doing, everyone? Okay, good. So there is a v here on the first denominator, so we're going to take this as a side problem. I'm going to put up here so I can make some space. So we got v minus 2 is equal to 0. Okay, so v cannot equal to what?
Positive 2.
Good. V cannot equal to positive 2. Good. That's one excluded value. Let's take the other denominator now. 6v squared plus 12v is equal to 0. Okay, what should I do to first? Can I factor anything out of the left side here?
Oh, 6v.
6v, good, times.
V plus 2.
Good, okay. And then this is just like before, 0 product property. You have two answers here. 6v cannot equal to 0, and v plus 2 cannot equal to 0. Okay. First answer, v cannot equal to what? Divide both sides by 6. V cannot. Good. That's one of them. And v cannot equal to what?
Negative 2.
V cannot equal to negative 2. Ah, nice. Cool. So far we have 3 excluded values. So now we're going to go back to our problem. Step 2, what should I do? This is a division problem, so what do I need to do?
Reciprocal.
What with a reciprocal? Flip it. Are you participating right now?
Yeah.
No, you are not working out your problem.
Oh, mod. Okay.
Yeah, I need you to practice. That's part of it, okay? 3v. So when I rewrite my problem, if I were a math student, I know this is a lot of work, so I kind of work as I go. So I'm going to do 2 steps. I'm going to factor and I'm going to flip. So first numerator, what can I factor out? 3, right? So we got 3 times v minus 2 over v minus 2 times my reciprocal. This denominator we already factored, right? We factored it earlier right here on the left. Do you see right here? So just copy that over here as 6v times v plus 2 all over. Okay? We need to do an Xbox problem here. What does this become? v minus 6 and v plus 1, right? Okay, now we check again for excluded values. What can't v equal to here in this first denominator? 2. Is that already one of my excluded values?
Yeah.
Good. What second denominator? What can v not equal to? 6. Is that one of my excluded values already? No, so we need to add that to our list. V cannot equal to 6 now. Okay. And v cannot equal to last one. What's the last excluded value? -1, okay. So now we have a whole ton of excluded values, okay? So now we can simplify. What can I cancel out? Just raise your hand, please. Yes.
V minus 2.
Okay, good. What else can I cancel out? Anything else? No, that's it. Sometimes it's going to be, you factor it out and you might not cancel much out. Okay, now we have to multiply across. 3 times 6v is 18v times v plus 2. Denominator is, multiply it back out, v minus 6 times v plus 1, which was just this answer up here, right? We're just going to put it back into its original form, v squared minus v minus 6. Okay. Now on a test, this could be an answer, but I like you to multiply it out. So 18v times v is going to be 18v squared plus 36v all over v squared minus v minus 6. I'm going to finish this one off for the sake of time. So, and v cannot equal to, I'm going to use the set notation this time, starting with the smallest value, which was -2, -1, 0, 2, and 6. And that's it. Okay. A little scary, right? But the same process every time. Okay, go slow on this homework. And again, this homework is there's a lot of skills put together. You have to know how to find excluded values. You have to know how to divide a fraction. You have to know how to simplify. You have to know how to multiply. It's like you're unlayering the problem and bringing it back together. So, and you can see that example right here. We're unlayering it, and unfortunately we didn't cancel anything else, so you have to bring it back together. Okay? Anyways, that's the end of this lesson for now, okay? So,